The sun was a merciless god in this cracked and broken land. It baked the earth until it split open like a wound, and it bleached the sky to a pale, unforgiving canvas. Against this desolation, she ran, a fleeting slash of animal print and raw desperation. She was a creature not of this world, yet trapped within its harshest realities. One could see the terror etched onto her face, a mask of dust and fear, as she fled a nightmare made real. Two monstrous boars, their tusks like polished daggers, and their eyes burning with a malevolent, unnatural red glow. She was primal instinct personified, her every muscle screaming as she pushed herself beyond the limits of endurance. The world was a blur of rust-colored rock and thorny brush. A single, skeletal bush offered a moment's fragile sanctuary. She dove behind it, her breath tearing at her lungs, as the thunder of hooves and guttural snarls passed her by, leaving a cloud of choking dust in their wake. When the silence returned, it was heavier than before, filled with the weight of her utter solitude. Exhaustion and despair washed over her, a tide more relentless than any beast. Each step was an agony, a slow march across an endless expanse of shattered earth, with only the gnawing pain of hunger for a companion. Then she saw it. A miracle. A single gnarled tree, stubbornly alive, its branches heavy with vibrant red fruit. It was a promise in a land that offered none. A new energy, born of final desperate hope, surged through her. She climbed, her bare feet finding purchase on the rough bark, reaching for the life-giving bounty. And there, nestled at the top, was a great nest of sticks holding 3 large, perfectly white eggs. In that moment, staring at the unexpected gift, the world shifted. It was no longer just an enemy. It had given her a chance. This small victory became a ritual of reclamation. With renewed purpose, she gathered dry twigs and branches, her hands moving with a deliberate grace. She was no longer just surviving, she was fighting back. She knelt on the cracked ground, striking 2 stones together, her entire being focused on the singular, vital task. When the first spark caught, she nurtured it with a gentle breath, her face illuminated by the fragile, growing flame. It was more than fire. It was a beacon of her own indomitable will, a warm, defiant heart beating against the encroaching cold of the night. As she cooked her prize over the hot coals, a shadow fell over her. It was sudden and absolute, blotting out the sun and plunging her small world into an ominous twilight. She looked up and saw him, a colossal eagle, the true monarch of this desolate sky, descending upon his raided throne. His eyes, like the boar's, burned with a terrifying crimson fire. It was not the anger of a mere animal. It was a cold, intelligent fury. A screech tore through the air, a judgment from the heavens, and she knew her brief reprieve was over. For a fleeting moment, she savored the taste of the cooked egg, the taste of life she had fought so hard for. Then she ran. But there is no escape from a hunter who owns the sky. The shadow was her relentless pursuer, a giant, winged specter racing across the ground to claim her. She fell, strength finally deserting her, and looked back into the face of her doom. Steel-like talons pierced her shoulders, and the world spun away beneath her as she was lifted into the air, a helpless captive in the grip of the winged king. He dropped her into the nest, a prisoner in a cage of sticks, high above the world that had betrayed her. Her frantic struggles were useless. All hope seemed lost until a new presence made itself known. From the deep shadows of a nearby cave, a figure emerged. It was a titan, a great gorilla whose sheer size and power seemed to make the very air tremble. He was not a beast of mindless rage, but an ancient king, a force of nature rising from the earth itself to challenge the tyranny of the sky. The confrontation was epic, a clash of primeval sovereigns. The gorilla's thunderous roar was a declaration of war, a challenge that the furious eagle could not ignore. The bird swooped down, a feathered bolt of lightning with claws extended, but the king of the earth met him head-on. A single mighty blow sent the eagle tumbling from the sky, a cascade of scattered feathers and dust. The king of the earth stood over his defeated rival, pinning him to the ground, not with killing force, but with the calm, indisputable authority of a true ruler. The battle was over. Then the unimaginable happened. The hand that had just struck down the Lord of the Air reached for her. It was a hand that could crush stone, yet it touched her with an impossible gentleness, lifting her from her prison and placing her safely on the ground. She stood beside his massive leg, small and awestruck, looking up at the creature who had become her savior. Fear was replaced by a profound, overwhelming sense of wonder. He began to walk, and she followed, instinctively staying close to his protective presence. On his shoulder, perched in silent submission, was the eagle, its fiery eyes now dimmed. They were a bizarre and impossible tribe, the gentle giant, the woman he had saved, and the vanquished predator. A new kind of tribe, forged in fire and conflict, making their way across the alien landscape. Their sanctuary was his cave. While she coaxed a fire to life, he brought food. They ate together in the warm, flickering light, sharing a meal in a silence that was deeper and more meaningful than any words. She looked at him, at this wild king, and saw not a monster, but a protector, a guardian. There was a wisdom in his ancient eyes, a quiet strength that soothed the terror that had lived in her heart for so long.